Diary entry number 17. Trying to trust and trust. Hello, and welcome back to the Nervous System Diaries. I took a few days off before recording this entry because this part of my story is still difficult to unpack. Next month will mark my 1-year anniversary since my escape. Even now, there are pieces of this abuse that I'm still working through. Trauma isn't something you simply switch off. Believe me, if it were, I would have done it years ago. Healing takes time, and sometimes telling these stories means revisiting parts of myself I'd rather leave behind. Today's diary entry is called Trying to Trust and Trust. After escaping my first abuser, I knew I had trust issues. The problem was that I thought I was the issue. I told myself I needed to stop being afraid. I told myself not everyone was going to hurt me. I told myself I needed to learn how to trust again. What I didn't understand was that trust isn't about ignoring red flags. Trust isn't about silencing your instincts. And trust isn't about proving you're healed. It's about learning when to listen to yourself. Unfortunately, I hadn't learned that lesson yet. We moved in with Beauty, and for a bit things were going okay, until I started pushing number 2 harder about why he didn't have a job yet. He would get so angry, and use his past felon thing as an excuse. It happened so many times, I started to say I didn't want to hear it, because I knew there were day labor jobs he could work at. All he had to do was show up and work. Meanwhile, I was still working in the hotel all the hours I could get just to keep up with my share of the bills, so it wasn't all on Beauty. My back and feet hurt so bad. But when I come home, the best part was that my sweet puppy was there, waiting on me. I just loved her so much. She was my total whole heart with fur. I began to dread seeing number 2 because I know deep down he was just sitting at home online. At first I didn't know what, but it sure wasn't filling out applications. One day I came home early because we had a light day of guests. I didn't text number 2 because he told me he was busy earlier looking for jobs and that he'd text me back when he was done. He also said that he was walking to some of the places to fill out applications also. I thought I'd have the house to myself since the roommate was also at work. I was going to pour me a hot bath and soak. I walked into the house like normal and went to number 2 and I's room. The door was shut like normal because my roommate didn't want Puppy to run around. It wasn't bad. I was just grateful that she allowed me to have Puppy there. I opened the door, and to my shock, there sat number 2 on a webcam, naked, with some other woman. Come to find out, all this time, Sweets and him never broke up. This is what he was doing. I couldn't believe this. I was trying to put trust in another man that said they would take care of me. Somehow, number 2 manipulated me, telling me what I saw into being my fault, since I didn't tell him I was on my way home. It's weird though. I wasn't hurt like I should have been. More like I'm used to it from past experiences. But the way he looked at me with his blue eyes, they were black. And as I talked to him, even though he was sitting right there in the same room, he was far away. I cried, but not because of hurt. I cried because, once again, I failed to pick the right man to be with. I thought eventually he would get tired of me asking him to get a job, and he would eventually leave weeks prior on his own, but he never did. He kind of just stuck. He finally went to a temp service and had a job within the week. I did confide to Beauty about what I had witnessed, and that may have been where I was wrong, because now she hated him as well. It made her want to go out more with me, but I worked so much and I was exhausted a lot. But I did have fun when went out, especially when number 2 wasn't there. It's just us girls in our dancing shoes. We would dance together so guys wouldn't hit on us. She would teach me line dancing, and then a jam would come on and we would just be our silly selves. Number 2 didn't like this. He started to tell me to stay home so I know you're safe. Looking back now, it was a form of control. Not I'm worried about you type love. I thought, well, I guess he's right. And look, maybe he's changing. He did get a job, and he wasn't getting on his computer as much, or so I thought, because he worked night shift. So when I was at work, he'd be sleeping. A few months down the road, everything started to come undone. What I didn't understand was that Beauty and I's friendship was being tested, and I started to isolate in our house because of number 2. He didn't want me to hang out with Beauty because, in his words, she was trying to control me. In reality, it was him trying to control me, and for me trying to keep the peace between them was very hard. To the point I just stayed in my room when she was there to avoid her asking me about number 2, and number 2 asking me about her. I felt like I was being torn in half. I started getting letters under my door from Beauty telling me the situation wasn't going to work out. She made it seem like I had done something wrong because number 2 was still there after the webcam incident. While I was at work, Beauty slid another letter under the door. This time number 2 intercepted it. When I got home, I texted her to come over because even though she moved in, she hadn't lived there for some reason. She told me I had a day to get out. I was freaking out so hard. I then said, you can't just kick me out like that. You told me I'm on the lease. The electric and water are in my name. And then she dropped a bomb on me. I never told you that. You were on the lease. You were just an extra person who lives here. I was completely floored. I was in panic and I had to work the next day. The cops were also called and I was put on display saying I was suicidal because of my self-harm. Which I was back to doing that after catching number 2 doing the explicit acts. I was told by the police that I could have 15 days. I went on to work not knowing what, if anything, could be done. Number 2 called me at work and said he got it taken care of. He had talked to the landlord and told him that since Beauty wasn't planning on living there anyways, we would just take over. I was thrilled because that meant not having to pack or move again. For a couple months it seemed okay, but seams were already starting to burst once again. Number 2 quit his job and just because he didn't like it. I was furious. The supposed only job that would hire him, and he just up and quit. It took him 7 months to get that job. What was I supposed to do? I couldn't afford this place on my own, even with overtime. As everything around me started falling apart, I kept asking myself the same question. Why did this keep happening to me? Why did I keep ending up in situations where I felt trapped? What I didn't understand then was that trauma had taught me to question myself more than I questioned other people. I trusted promises, I trusted excuses, I trusted potential. But I didn't trust my own instinct. Trust is and will always be an issue for me. Even though I may not talk about it in the present day, it still very much affects me. Looking back now, I realize I wasn't just struggling to trust other people. I was struggling to trust myself. Every time my instinct warned me about something, I explained it away. Every time I felt uncomfortable, I convinced myself I was overreacting. Every time I saw a red flag, I tried to turn it into something else, because I wanted so badly to believe things were getting better. But trust built on ignoring yourself never lasts, and the cracks in the relationship were about to become impossible to ignore. Until next time, this is a Nervous System Diaries, and I'm a soft-spoken survivor.